Good moment, whatever time of day this moment is for you. I'm here to talk about the intersection between psychological work and spiritual work. Thomas Hora, the late metaphysical psychiatrist, said that all problems are psychological and all solutions are spiritual. From my perspective, we also need to include the fact that all experiences are physical, so that we can use our own embodiment practice to go towards psychological health as well as towards spiritual health. And that, in fact, often the two paths are united. We have to do our psychological work to open more spiritually, to be honest about our whole being, the state of our beings and the state of humanity right now. I had hoped that we were farther along as a species, and now I'm seeing we're not. We're still vulnerable to war. We're still destroying our habitat. We're still fighting between each other about right and wrong. So that says to me that we're not working as hard as I wished we were, both psychologically and spiritually. So psychological problems are problems that we experience as an individual self. I'm sad, I'm confused, I'm angry, I'm anxious, I'm depressed. I'm not moving through my life. I'm feeling burdened by my life experiences. Spiritual problems are often the opposite. They're what we call spiritual bypasses often, where we are ignoring our psychological issues and just deluding ourselves that we can frolic in a larger spiritual experience and life is great and the planet is, not going to deteriorate further, and, all sorts of ideas that we have about the possibilities. It's not to say that the possibilities aren't possibilities. It's just to say, how do we really feel our bodies, really feel our hearts, really feel the truth of where we are in relationship to ourselves and each other and the environment? So I started creating body-mind psychotherapy in the 80s. And now I've just started teaching embodied spirituality in the last decade. And my book about embodied spirituality just came out last year, 2021. And I'm working with an online community in the embodied spirituality gatherings. But I don't really see the two pieces of work as separate. It's just, where am I focused in one moment and where am I focused in the next? But when we're focused on our psychological work and things really open up and we feel a newness, a expansiveness, a sense of union with the larger world or any part of it, that psychological work becoming spiritual work. And same thing with our spiritual work. When we feel that we're meditating or chanting or whatever our spiritual practice might be, and we get gripped by some psychological dilemma, how do we work with that? How do we graciously come back to our small selves and say, oh, honey, you need some attention. You're having some feelings. It's not that we ever transcend, I don't believe. Normal people don't transcend our psychological issues completely. I've worked really hard psychologically and spiritually my whole adult life. Even in my adolescence, I started meditating. And, now as I'm getting older, I'm having to say to myself, okay, I've worked hard and there's still a lot of stuff. I still get confused. I still get anxious. I still, get very small-minded and tense. And we have to work with that, right? We all can choose to work with that if we want to. So my advice is always, when you're working with spiritual practices, and you get gripped by a strong emotion, or you start ruminating on what you should have said, or what did they mean by that, or what you should do in your life, that sort of psychological stuff, there's a way of learning to hone that down, feel it in your body, be with it, not spiritually bypass it, but also not get stuck and further reinforce the neurotic pattern of it. Hold it. Hold that part lovingly, like you would hold a baby or a child. And give it the attention it needs. And at the same time, remember, you are a larger, wiser self than just this small self. And perhaps even when we cross a threshold into death or some profound realization, perhaps we'll still be holding all of our small, unrealized, confused, traumatized parts, but not being completely controlled by them, not completely identifying with them. Let me know what you think. Thanks.